start recording, and hopefully I don't forget to stop recording. All right, so we have a new dev diary this week. This is going to be the last one for a while, so we'll be able to get right back into the game after this. And this one's quite a bit shorter than yesterday or last week, so we have that going for us as well. Some of this early stuff I'm going to skim over because I don't think we need to go over word for word either, so this is going to go pretty quickly. We are getting a dev diary from Cordelion, who's someone we haven't encountered within the community really before, who's been working on almost exclusively on the new start date and the 2 bookmarks that will be releasing as part of the free update alongside Roads to Power. They say I've been clearly following what you have to say about it, and I cannot overstate just how happy I am to see people excited by it, and so today will be my pleasure and honor to give you a closer look at all it has to offer. Let's start with the obvious question that I know some of you have been asking: why 1178 specifically? It's a great and very natural question. Unlike our pre-existing start dates of 1066 or 867, 1176 isn't well known for being a major paradigm-altering historical event. But there are a few key factors that weighed the scales in its favor. One of the things we look at when adding something like a new start date is who would be alive and interesting and playable at the time. We want to give you as many options for worthy historical figures as possible. This part of the process involves a little bit of back and forth at first. Every time you move the year forward or backward, you gain some figures and lose others. So we have to decide whom we can't live without and whom we are willing to consider an acceptable, though unfortunate, sacrifice. We knew, for example, that we wanted to have the Crusader states, and particularly Jerusalem, under Baldwin IV, which gives you a preliminary range of 1174 to 1185. I truthfully don't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation of this figure's name. Memory tells me it's Baldwin, or Baldwin, but I could be remembering wrong. I am a stupid American. Please correct me. Then we thought it would also be good to have Heinrich the Lion as Duke of Saxony, and a rival and counterweight to the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, which would require a year before 1180 or 1181 when Heinrich was deposed. Just imagine doing this with a few more names and you should have a reasonably solid picture of the calculus involved. So they've really been narrowing this down. Hey Viper, good to see you. However, that's not to say that this was our sole consideration, although it certainly accounted for a hefty amount of the decision. Another factor that heavily influenced our choice was that we wanted to make sure that any new start date would be in a good position to integrate not only the new mechanics being introduced in Road to Power, but also a wide range of components of potential future expansions going forward, whatever they may be. This could be a hint. I don't know what it's a hint of. I don't know enough about 1178 to know if this is... Are we getting a step update soon? Are we getting... There's another update. There's another thought I have that takes place around this time that they hint at later. Are we getting Crusade rework soon? Please give us a Crusade rework. It needs it so badly. Hopefully playable republics like Venice. They did a lot during the Crusades. Oh. What if we get republics and crusades in the same... We get a 4th Crusade update. Crusades and republics. No matter whether it's the allied city-states of the Lombard League asserting their independence from imperial suzerainty in northern Italy, or the Iron Men marching eastward to wage holy war at the urging of the Men of the Cloth, or a young man of as yet untapped potential named Temujin beginning to make a name for himself on the steppes, we will relentlessly and enthusiastically take advantage of everything 1178 brings to the table, whenever and wherever the opportunity occurs. So, I didn't even consider this on my first time through, but they could be hinting at a step update, at a Crusades update, and at an HRE mechanics update. Seeing the more politics in the HRE could be really exciting in a future expansion. That's deep in the Song Dynasty, right? Right. China's still a possibility, even if potentially a distant one. It could happen. Please don't take the above as indication for any specific plans for future expansions or the order in which they may or may not appear. Too late. I've merely highlighted a few relevant aspects that I personally find very compelling, and take it instead as a declaration of our intent to make sure that 1178 remains a vital, thriving, fully integrated, and fun part of your CK gameplay experience from here on out. Too late, I'm already speculating, but we'll see, we'll see. Hopefully this has given you a bit more insight into the logic behind our choice of 1178. Perfectly alright if you still have more questions. In fact, I hope you do, because next we're going to delve much deeper into the bookmarks themselves. Now, since Roadst... actually, let's take a look at this. I didn't, because I was a little rushed for time, but... Southern Song 1172, 1279 refers to the period after the Song lost control of the northern half of the Jurchen-led Jin dynasty in the Jin-Song Wars. At that time, the Song court retreated south of the Yangtze and established its capital in Lin'an, now Hangzhou. Although the Song dynasty had lost control of the traditional Chinese heartlands around the Yellow River, the southern Song Empire contained a large population of productive agricultural land, sustaining a robust economy. That could be an interesting position to see, to have China that isn't a unified bloc on the verge of collapse like it is in so many Paradox games. Now, since Roads to Power is the expansion, including administrative... Oh, we were looking at this. I can't seem to maximize this on Steam, and I don't want to set up OBS again. So, I encourage you to take a closer look at these. Am I going to screw things up if I do this? Absolutely. Let's not do that. Straight up, I apologize. I can't see this on my screen without opening it up in Chrome. So I encourage you to take a closer look. I will be doing the same after stream. I know they do go over all 5 of these figures. I just wanted to read some of the other information on the periphery. Now, since Roads to Power is the expansion including administrative government, let's take a look at the Call of Empire first. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the particulars of this area, the Byzantine Empire is presently enjoying a resurgence after the adroit rule of the aging Basilius Manuel Komnenos. But the specter of his cousin Andronikos, an ambitious and reckless adventurer of preternatural charm, looms forebodingly over the prospects of Manuel's underage son and heir, Alexios. 30 days before Mongols is an interesting start date. Although the Song dynasty was able to hold back the Jin, a new foe came to power over the steppe deserts and plains north of the Jin. Mongols led by Genghis Khan initially invaded the Jin dynasty in 1205 and 1209. 30 years, not days. I thought that's what you meant. Engaging in large raids across the borders, and in 1211 an enormous Mongol army was assembled to invade the Jin. Sorry, not Jin. Furthermore, the Byzantines have suffered a recent blow in their aspirations of reclaiming the Anatolian interior. Defeat at the Battle of, Greek names. Myrokinophaln at the hands of the Seljuk Sultan of Rum, Kiji Arslan, whose name means sword lion for the etymologically curious, great-grandson of Suleiman ibn Kutlmish, the Sultanate's founder. Arslan has reigned ably in both war and peace thus far, but an abundance of potential successors, no less than 11 sons, may bode poorly for the Sultanate's future stability. A more auspicious future may be in store for Princess Tamir Bagratuni, eldest daughter of King Georgi of Georgia, and another one of those historical figures who has an influencing factor on the start date. 1178 was the year her father officially confirmed her as successor after he'd put down the rebellion of the Orbeli family. Historically, her subsequent rule over Georgia marked her as one of its greatest rulers. To quote a chronicle of her reign, the life of Tamar, the great queen of queens, quote, the entire world was full of her praise, and every language in which her name was pronounced exalted her. She's going to be a fun... This is going to be a fun start date for some real shenanigans a la Daruma Dharma. There's another female character who's going to be fun for that. They mentioned later. Matilda of Tuscany. Governing along the Wallachian frontier of the Byzantine Empire, you'll find Ionist Konstantinos. According to Nikitas Chronicles Historica, a man huge inside and most courageous of heart and with a booming voice. I'm having trouble with some of these words today. However, the historian goes on to add that despite his extensive military experience, his arrogance and impiosity resulted in failure more often than success. As a bit of interesting genealogical trivia, the 14th century Byzantine emperor of the same name descended from a cousin of Iones. Completely not going to be relevant. 1178 is an interesting year to play the Chichen Itza. See, China may be possible. There's no way we're getting the New World. And we shouldn't. Early genealogy of the Alailonagoi is more than a little Byzantine. And so I'll clarify that our Alexios, governor of Bulgaria, is the Alexios who was the grandfather of the future Emperor Michael VIII, and not his younger cousin of the same name. Byzantines were not renowned for their innovative choice in names, who is historically best known for his association with the Emperor Alexios III Angelos. Tall Novgorod? Ooh. And lastly, we have Andronikos Angelos, governing in Epirus, where his illegitimate nephew Michael will one day establish an independent despotate. Cousin to Basilius Manuel and grandson of Alexios Komnenos himself, and among whose sons are the future emperors Alexios III mentioned above, and Isakios II Angelos. Although exhibiting an authentically Byzantine inconsistency in what surname they prefer to use, the Angeli are a sizable family by contemporary standards and well-placed to stack the Empire's offices with their kindred. And then we have the Swords of Faith bookmark. Which is going to be which is either going to be very exciting or very, shall we say, disastrous. But disaster is still exciting. Meh, it could be meh, yeah. Hi, Toxicite. I mean, a Crusades rework is needed. That's what I'll say. England's massive, Maghreb and southern Iberia's Almohad, yes. They do go into both of those. We do see both of those a little bit. Before we go into detail on Swords of Faith, I do want to be transparent up front that an overhaul for Crusades themselves is not a component of this expansion. Something of that magnitude and significance would need and deserve more than would be possible as second billing in an expansion with a very different mechanical focus. I think this is all but guaranteeing that we are getting a Crusade Overhaul DLC. Shit. I clicked off the screen because I was excited. I think we're going to get a Crusade DLC update. A Crusade Overhaul update. Hopefully the Crusade mechanics aren't locked behind the DLC and it comes with the update, along other things, but we'll see. This is something I'm looking forward to, but also a little bit concerned about. So, major fingers crossed here. Now, to many of you, I expect some of the names in this bookmark will seem a good deal more familiar, in large part due to Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, which I am not particularly familiar with, and of course the CK3 mod of the same name, which I have not played. Though set a few years earlier than the events adapted by the film, here too the leprous Baldwin IV rules the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem with immense dignity and dedication despite his dreadful affliction. Although our historical Baladin, the Iblin, is a baron from the beginning, not a blacksmith. Switching to mobile, all good. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Given the nature of his malady, particular attention must be paid to his heir, his eldest sister Sibylla, who is historically and conveniently for us, between husbands this particular year. Although historically Baldwin would be succeeded by Sibylla's son, also named Baldwin. Before Sibylla herself, at this point she was still being treated as the presumptive successor over the newborn infant. In addition, while bouncing baby Baldwin takes after his father's dynasty at the start of the game, worry not. You'll get an event shortly to let you determine which side of the parentage he ought to take after. This is going to be a fun... This is going to be a fun start. I would love to see a matriarchal Jerusalem. Just really piss everybody off. Everybody possible. Really fun, really difficult potential campaign here. Rounding out the Jerusalemite cast is Raymond de Toulouse, son of a murdered father, Nizari assassins happened, and brother to a spurned sister, Basileus Manuel happened. A regent of the kingdom during Baldwin's minority who had previously endured nearly a decade of captivity in a Zingrid prison. The ruler of the county of Tripoli, the future of his lands is inexorably linked with that of the kingdom of Jerusalem itself. Just making C rating man-eating lesbians? I didn't even think of C rating. You're so right. You're so right. And of course, what mention of Jerusalem could be made without acknowledging the exceptional character of Salah ad-Din Yusuf, the last vizier to the Fatimid caliphs and the first Ayyubid Sultan of Egypt. Of all our bookmark characters in the start date, he requires the least introduction. His victory over the Crusaders at the Battle of Hattin and the reconquest of Jerusalem in 1187 would soon lead to the launch of the famous Third Crusade in response. And this is why this bookmark could be short-lived. Because historically it was, and you're surrounded, and your opponents are very exceptional. I feel like Saladin would be a boring character to play, but a very fun character to have in a bookmark. As an additional point of interest, I'm going to skim this. I'd like to mention that we've made some slight adjustments to how names are structured, in that Salah al-Din, his famous honorific, meaning righteousness of the faith, is now a prefix nickname. Previously, many honorifics were treated as components of given names and can be inherited as such. In the interest of accuracy and better representation, we've gone through and reassigned a great many of them as historical nicknames. Segueing into our next bookmark character, Muzaffar ad-Din Gokbari is one of the preeminent military commanders in service to the Zingrids, as was his father before him. Deposed and exiled from his fief of Erbil in favor of his younger brother, Gokbari presently reserves in Haran, but historically would go on to betray the Zingrids and joined forces with Salah ad-Din, even playing a key role in the Battle of Hattin to reclaim his patrimony, which he ruled prosperously until his death on the eve of the Mongol invasions. Last but not least is Levon, younger brother to Rupin III, ruler of Armenian Sicilia. Historically, Rupin III is remembered as a kind and humane ruler, but one of retiring character who abdicated in Levon's favor, perhaps his noblest deed of all, for Levon would be crowned by the first true king of Armenian Sicilia and thoroughly earned the appellation Metrogorts, which is commonly translated as the Magnificent or the Great, but can also be read as the Thaumaturge in the sense of one who performs marvels. Okay. It's been an immense personal pleasure to play a part in bringing this start date to fruition. I truly hope you enjoyed today's look at our new start date. You see, my mandate is to tell you all about the new start date, and it means I have no alternative but to tell you all about the other interesting parts of it too, doesn't it? We have a huge England with a massive presence in both Southern Ireland and Western France, as is historical. King Henry II of England has imprisoned his wife Eleanor of Aquitaine for inciting his sons to rise against him. Among said sons is the athletic 12th century tournament champion, tournament celebrity Henry, called the Young King for having been crowned during his father's reign, Leonine Richard, smooth-tongued Joffrey, and Young John. We know these names. These are well-known names in the West, in the Anglosphere. In this period, the French are ruled by King Louis VII, the former husband of Eleanor of Aquitaine, and perhaps better known as the younger than the young at this particular stage in his life. Louis's eldest daughter is married to one of his preeminent vassals, Henry the Liberal, ruler of Champagne, who contributed greatly to the expansion of the famous and prosperous Champagne fairs. Meanwhile, in the south, the heretical Cathar creed has taken hold in the lands of Raymond of Toulouse, which would soon lead to the Albigensian Crusade. I'm hoping there's events related to this, because this could be very interesting. Catharism is, to put it bluntly, to put it mildly, it's quite interesting historically and fairly misunderstood, so I'll be interested, by me even, so I'd be interested to see how they handle a start date so focused around it. I'm very flimmy again today. I think it's just this weather. The formidable Hohenzollern Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa is rivaled within his realm only by Heinrich the Lion, Duke over Saxony and Bavaria, and the feud between their families gave rise to the enduring labels Gulef and Gilbin after the Hohenzollern castle of Walbingen. Within the empire, I'd like to draw particular attention to Berthold von Andrix, patriarch of an interesting and mildly obscure family that rose high in both the empire and Hungary and then burned out and went extinct within only a few generations. I apologize, I'm going to mute for just a second while I clear my nose. I have some nasal spray here. Okay, sorry about that. It was just getting worse and worse the more I talked. Whew. Some 50 years passed, a young Alfonso the Conqueror knighted himself on Pentecost in the capital of Zamora, assembled a host beneath the banner of rebellion, and proceeded to emancipate himself from his mother and heir and her Galician lover in near legendary fashion, triumphing over them in the Battle of Salmarmad. For anyone else, this might have been nearly enough adventure for a lifetime, but for Alfonso this was only the prologue. He would soon become the first and founding king of Portugal. Now in his twilight years, Alfonso has largely handed over management of the kingdom's affairs to his young favorite daughter, Teresa, named curiously after his mother. So a relatively young Portugal actually existing is interesting. Aragon here, a very powerful Muminid presence in North Africa and southern Iberia. Aragon, they go over in a second. Sharing the name of the Portuguese monarch are Alphonse the Troubadour, King of Aragon, and Alfonso VIII, King of Castile. Of the two, the former has managed to expand his realm to encompass territories well beyond the Pyrenees, possessing lands of his own in the south of France, as well as having seated his brother in Provence, although said brother would soon be murdered after embroiling himself in a war with the lords of Languedoc. In the later Alfonso, however, who will earn enduring fame as the future victor over the Almohad army at the Battle of Las Navas de Tolsa. Jumping now to another corner of the map, the historically last of the Seljuk sultans of Persia, Torgal is still a child, with true power of the realm resting in the hands of Jahan Pahlavan Mohammed, the Inglizid Atabeg of Azerbaijan, subjugator of rebellious princes and emirs, and one of my personal favorites among the cast of his start date. His honorific, incidentally, can be translated variously as Hero of the World or World Champion. Immediately east of the dwindling Seljuk state is the realm of the Ghurids, whose power is presently split between Muhammad of Ghor and his older brother, who is technically also Muhammad of Ghor. They share the same given name. The younger is more famous, and his exploits into India would ultimately give rise to the Delhi Sultanate only a few decades later. Standing in opposition to the Ghurids is, I am as bad as I am with some West Asian and European names. I'm so much worse with Indian names. Prithli Vijayaraja the Third, Chauhan, whose resistance against the foreign invaders earned him a legendary reputation, and has perhaps had more films made about him than anyone else on the list. And this makes me sad. Because I'm a stupid American, and I don't know anything about this guy. India, South Asia in particular, South Asia in general, is an area that I have a real gap in my historical knowledge, and and admittedly that I haven't gone about rectifying yet, but it's really disappointing because what I know is fascinating. Lastly, even further to the east, as mentioned earlier, you'll find a young man named Temujin Borujan, who will soon earn himself another appellation, one to make the world tremble, Genghis Khan. This time, truly we've reached the end. The list of those I've named is by no means exhaustive. I could easily name a good dozen more, and don't get me started on Montferrat. But I keep thinking of more names. We really will be here all day, and I fully expect you to turn up countless more interesting figures to play as or against. However, there's still one more thing the team would like to share with you today, and it's something I'm pretty happy about too. This is going to be huge for some people and meaningless for others. Before we go, along coming with the free update is a small but oft requested quality of life improvements message settings. You'll now be able to customize the appearance of a variety of common interface messages to your heart's desire. Messages are now sorted into filter groups. How each group should appear is now up to you, as either a tired and true toast message, banner message that appears near the top of the stream, a familiar feed message that appear in the notification feed at the bottom right of your screen, a pop-up window, or simply to be disabled entirely. Few examples: spouse pregnancy, close family becomes concubine, realm priest endorsement, counselor task, counselor side effects, counselors, held council seats, hooks on me, hooks on others, marriage starts, marriage ends, close family marriage, heirs marriage ends, dynasty splendor, and dynasty perks. This is huge. This is very fun. As you might have noticed, it's also possible per filter group to set whether the game should automatically be paused as it appears. Love that. Note certain filter groups integral to giving the player information about the game state or outcomes of their actions cannot be disabled. The new pop-up messages. It's all possible thanks to a new and fully moddable database of message filter types that can be freely edited or expanded upon, adding new types for more granularity or mod-specific needs. And here we have a custom mod for super important messages. Finally, and my favorite part of this dev diary, on the last few dev diaries, we picked up the idea that some of you would be interested in giving your vassals orders, and after thinking about it, we came to the conclusion that it's not only a sound suggestion, but one that can help reinforce the difference that administrative realms has over other government forms. You'll now be able to give directives to your vassals, presuming that they respect you. Directives are either given from the character interaction menu or via the Vassals tab. In my realm, the latter having the benefit of showing you the current directive. All government types can issue directives to their vassals. In the picture, it's the Holy Roman Emperor doing it. We have directive to convert faith, to promote culture, to improve cultural acceptance, to construct fortifications, military buildings, economic buildings, or to remove the existing directive and let them act freely. I'm massive. You conquer a new area, you set a directive to convert faith. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about sending your priest to a province for 8 years only to have it get canceled 6 years in because they were doing it. You can just tell the new guy, the governor, to convert faith and leave your priest to do whatever the hell you need him for yourself. Ordering them to build buildings in a specific way rather than having to manually spend your money back into them. I'm super excited. Thanks, phone. As Matilda of Tuscany is your vassal, you can issue a directive to have her focus on specific tasks. At least one of these must be true. She must have the administrative government, 50 opinion of you, must be trusting or loyal, must be friends, lovers, strong hook, absolute control, honored to serve, absolute crown authority, or legitimacy. At least one of these. You can do this as non-administrative, I just realized, if any of these settings are met. That's interesting. I missed that. I thought it was admin only. As you can tell from the requirements, it's not too easy to make them follow your orders. You'll have to work your way to a high level of crown authority, pursue specific life tiles, or gain significant opinion with them. If you no longer fulfill this trigger, they'll not follow your directive until you regain their trust. Directives are inherited, so you do not have to worry about setting them again as your vassals die. CK3, yes! Hello! Yeah, at least one of these. This doesn't seem that hard to me. Especially if you have absolute control or honored to serve. That's... I mean, I like Overseer. I like absolute control. Why are you so ugly? What you mean? Oh, our character down here. He's just old. We're still finishing up the patch notes, though. I think he's just old. I'll peek at him in a second. They will not follow your directive again until you regain their trust. Directives are inherited, so you don't have to worry about setting them again as your vassals die. Of course, if you're administrative, then following the directives you get is simply your vassal's job. They will only ever refuse your directives if they are your rival, but otherwise you're free to set any directive you wish. They're fully baked into the administrative UI to maximize visibility, and administrative also has access to 3 more directives. Improved development, huge. Boost men-at-arms and recruit men-at-arms, all significantly more powerful than the default set. Look, half Japanese, half Moroccan. All right, I'll look at. We're almost done here. I'll take a look at this character, and I'll. In previous Dev Diaries, we gathered some feedback regarding the upcoming Choose a New Destiny feature, where it seems as if a popular addition would be to add the random mode. If you're not interested in any of these 3 options, you can now choose to let the die of fate determine your destiny for you. I'm so excited about this. Being able to hop around, I mean, this is a campaign. Playing as a random descendant, a close family member, a random dynasty member, random adventurer. We based the choices on what we could gather were popular fantasies and added some extra for good measure. Some restrictions still apply as being your part of your dynasty and keeping the difficulty reasonable. It's still possible to add further categories, so if you feel like we've missed something, feel free to give feedback. That's everything for today. I sincerely thank you for your time and attention. I hope you found today's Dev Diary interested and looking forward to Roads to Power as much as I am. We still have a few Dev Diaries to go ahead of the release of Roads to Power, but it'll be a bit longer. It's the start of the Swedish summer break, and we're so temporarily parting ways until the team returns in early August. So we will not be doing these for a little while until August, and then we will come back to Dev Diaries. So I did remember that I have to stop recording. I'm so proud of myself. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. I will see you on Twitch. And for those of you on Twitch, let's get going.